Hi there, my name is Thier, and before I talk about how artists can take leadership and lead their readers or audiences, um, I want to take a minute to define leadership because in our present societies, we're mostly taught, and mostly what's modeled to us, is a kind of pseudo leadership, which is where we think about leadership as basically an act of domination. That leading is you getting to tell people what to do. That leading is about coercing people into doing stuff. That's how we think about leadership. And I describe that as pseudo leadership because I think that leading is really inherent to being human. I think every person is potentially a leader, and but only if we define it in the human sense. And the real leadership is it's basically the job of being the person who thinks about the whole. A leader is somebody who, assesses a group and thinks, okay, this is what would bring this group forward. This is what would move this group towards their goal. This would be a good goal for the group. And furthermore, a good leader doesn't do the thinking for the group. Quite the contrary, a good leader is interested in the thoughts that members of the group have and it solicits those thoughts. And then as you gather those thoughts, then you come up with an action plan. That's what a really good leader does. And I think that's what a good film director does. And that is a leadership role. A good director loves collaborating, and collaborating doesn't mean other people take over directing the film. It means that you are interested and you'll solicit the ideas and the creativity of your team, and then you come up with a plan. You're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Or that one is not going to move us towards the vision that I have for this film, etc. Now, a lot of people think that leadership is bad and that for a group to be really, truly democratic, we need to just abolish leadership. And I've seen that in all sorts of progressive movements where they say, like, we're a leaderless movement, etc. And what I've noticed in leaderless groups is that one of two things happen. Either the group becomes dysfunctional because no one is thinking about the whole. So it becomes really inefficient. Every decision takes forever to make. Good opportunities are missed. And things end up falling apart. Or the group pretends that there isn't a leader, but there is one. So when a group is leaderless and it does function well, it's because somebody is leading, but the group just doesn't recognize that person as the leader, doesn't give them that title, doesn't give them the agency. So it makes it a little harder to lead the group, but somebody takes the responsibility and thinks about the whole and moves the group forward. And that brings me to say that a leader, to take leadership, you don't have to be recognized by anybody as a leader. You don't need a formal title. You don't need an invitation. You don't need to be elected, voted, assigned, anything like that. You can always decide that you're thinking about what will serve the whole, what's good for the whole, and act on it. And when I say a group, it could be millions of people. It could be you and another person and anything in between, 2 people or more. That's a group. So when 2 people get together, if one person thinks, what's going to make things go well for the 2 of us, then you have a leader in the group and things will go better. So I just want to emphasize, leading could mean that you're running for office. It could also mean that when you get together with your family, you're the one who figures out, how do I get this group to laugh together? How do I get this group to connect by appreciating each other? There's really an infinite number of ways to think about a group and move it forward. And along those lines, there can never be too many leaders. Our society would be heaven if every person thought of themselves as a leader, if every person took that responsibility of thinking about what would be good for the whole. You don't have to be assigned, you don't have to be voted. You can decide to think about the whole. And the more people do that, the better things go. So if you get together with your family and you're the person who's thinking, how do I get this group to laugh together? you're taking leadership. If you're doing that and somebody else is also thinking about how do I get this group to be kind to each other, wow, things really come up roses. So let me end off here by talking about artists as leaders, because we simply are. Artists, the work that we create, it shapes the way people think about the world. It shapes the way people feel about each other. It shapes the way people treat each other. It shapes the way people feel about themselves and think of themselves. I know that my work exponentially improved and all of a sudden got a lot more attention when I stopped using my writing as a place to vent, and I thought of my writing as an opportunity to lead. And what that meant is, rather than using writing to share pain or solely do that, that I use my writing to really think about my audience. What do they need? What could they really use right now? What would move them forward? I think that an artist's work just exponentially matures when it transitions from being an opportunity to vent pain, using it as therapy basically, to using it as an opportunity to inspire others to heal. Now, don't get down on yourself. I still vent my pain when I create work. It's fine. It's fine to do, and in many cases, it helps your audience feel seen, because your audience is watching you, and they're thinking, or they're watching what you wrote, what you created, and they're thinking, oh, somebody understands me because I have that same pain. So in that sense, you could be leading your audience by providing that reassurance, like, I hear you, I know what it's like, I'm having that experience. So don't be concerned about not sharing yourself genuinely. But even when you're sharing pain, it'll make a difference if you have it in mind that the reason you're doing that is not because you need to be seen, and you do, we all do, but because your audience, which is what your art is really about, your audience needs to be seen. Films that really floor me, that really, I think, stand out of the pack, are ones where the emphasis is not on what's wrong with people and all the ways we mess up, but those works that remind us of the best parts of ourselves. Even when we're showing somebody who's like in a cruddy state, who figures out or is helped into finding the best parts of themselves. Like, what is it like when you watch somebody be, intellectually just come to life and enjoy problem solving, like the movie The Martian, or seeing somebody find courage because somebody cares enough about them to find that courage, like The King's Speech. My film Tomorrow Ever After is all about creating a reminder of people of just how awesome you really are. So I want to encourage you, please take leadership. Please don't go into the little old me, I'm not a leader thing, because the more leaders we have, the better off we'll be. I mean, look around us, look at our society. The people who have been taking leadership, they need our help. They're too confused. Having a society that's led by people who have wealth or are tied to wealth, it doesn't lead us down a good path. And it's not a form of leadership that's thinking about what's good for the whole. So you don't want to leave it to the people who are most confused, who are most compelled by the opportunity to dominate. You don't want those people to be in charge. They need our help. They need your help. We need your help. I want to encourage you that despite whatever noise in your head is telling you to stay small, I want to remind you that you are, just by virtue of being a human, you're inherently a leader, and we could use you. Go ahead, I dare you to think about the whole, whether it's the entire planet, your community, or just you and your roommate. There are infinite opportunities every day to take leadership and and bring people along with you. Artists often try to figure out, how do I get a following on social media? How do I become an influencer? And it's not hardly ever about the tactics. It's about what it is that you broadcast, what you put out there. And if you can think of yourself as a leader in terms of what's best for the group, what would serve my audience well, and how do I inspire my audience to then they themselves take leadership, that I think is what will position you to be the influencer that you ought to be, that I would like you to be. All right. If you dig what I have to say, I got more videos, subscribe to the channel, follow it, notifications, you know the drill. I should probably write that script down and remember it. But take a second to hit the like button. That really does make a difference. It lets YouTube algorithms know that these videos are useful. All right. Thank you. Thank you for leading. I know that you do.